John, welcome. I'm super happy to have you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's always great hanging out with you, and welcome to everybody who's joining us today. I'm going to walk through the kid-inspired curriculum and what sort of sets it apart and how it can be used with Koala Go when teaching online. And so I'll just jump right in. I tend
John,
to go
John,
ahead.
just if you don't mind, I'll just take a few seconds to introduce how we met and the
Yeah,
why I think it's super valuable. So I met John, actually don't remember. I think we just had a lot of koala teachers who were using Kid Inspired, and that's how I heard about your curriculum, and then we got in touch. And John has a really cool story of how maybe you can share more about your story, but how you started a school for English in
yeah,
Taiwan, I believe. And
yep.
anyway, it's been a pleasure to work with John. He's very professional, very organized, clean. So it's just really pleasant. And I agree. I really enjoy also our talks. So I'm just really happy to have him today present his curriculum to you guys. It works well in the co-browser, so it's a really good fit. So, John, all yours. Welcome.
Thanks again. I really appreciate it, Xavier. And yeah, I'll jump in. Am curious kind of where people are coming from. If you have a second to drop a note in the chat about kind of what grade levels you teach and maybe what's your biggest challenge. I will kind of go through this, and if you drop a note in there, maybe later as I'm going through, I can keep an eye on it and make some comments maybe about specific situations if I see something in there that I can cover regarding challenges or grade levels and things like that. So also, if you have a question as I'm going through, please just stop me. I write it in the chat there, and Xavier has the ability to stop me. I don't know if everybody else does or not, but please just stop me because I can get talking and it's easy to miss questions and things in there, and I'm happy to stop. But again, I don't know. Sometimes I just get to talking and miss stuff. So Xavier will stop me if needed.
Speaking of, we have the
And
first question, John. I am
yeah,
from Byron. I am enrolling an adult ESL student. Does this or another program you have apply?
the program, the kid inspired program is really geared more towards K to 12 students. There are teachers who use it with adults, but it really isn't geared as much towards them. Uh, Partly because a lot of adults are looking for business English. And if you're looking for business English, that's not covered in the curriculum at all. If you have adults who are really looking to build fluency and they have sort of a fun, goofy personality, some parents, they that's exactly what they want. The curriculum can actually work quite well. We've had parents who back when we ran the school in Taiwan, who would actually ask us if they could use our curriculum to learn English there, and like, of course you can, and because they found that the way that it's structured really does build fluency well. But again, it does kind of depend on your students and their needs and if they're adults, if they're looking for more business sort of related topics, then that's not going to be covered in the curriculum. All right, I've noticed another things. I teach all grade levels, K to 12, dyslexia, worked with English learners in the public schools. Yeah, certified in ESL too. Great. As I'm going through, again, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Love hearing from you guys. I'm hoping you're not hearing any of the sawing going on in the background. That's good. They're cutting some trees out there. Let me tell you a little bit about myself really fast. I ran a school in Taipei, Taiwan with my wife for about 12 years, up until about 2020 when the pandemic hit. And at that point, we had actually transferred most of what we were doing online and offering the curriculum that we developed over a period of around 12 years in the school to teachers around the world, in the United States and elsewhere, both in the classroom and online. And I've dealt with a lot of the same challenges that you have. I know many of you are working independently as an independent teacher, and you are running your own business. You're, handling parents' communication, all of that you're having to do on your own. Many of you may have worked for a company like VIP Kid in the past. I noticed, I think Paula said that she does still on VIP Kid. And those platforms will handle a lot of parent communication for you. And so all you have to do is teach. But if you're doing it independently, you've got a lot of plates that you have to keep spinning, a lot of balls you need to keep juggling in order to run your business. And I know that can be a lot. And I have been there. I ran a school in Taiwan for about 12 years and had to handle parent communication and students and testing and promotion, all of those things. So I get that, and the curriculum can hopefully help make some of that easier for you. The curriculum that we designed is both engaging and effective. And we designed it in collaboration with lots of students and lots of teachers over a long period of time. And so it's a really time-tested curriculum. That said, it may look a little bit different than what you're used to with other online ESL curriculums. And so I do think that, it may take a little bit of adjustments for how you teach when you teach it online. And we can talk about some of that as we go through this. And if you're interested in learning more, you can always get in touch with me anytime. And of course, there's a lot of resources on the site as well. Like I said, you've got a lot on your plates. Finding the curriculum itself is a challenge, I know, for many teachers. One that is going to make parents happy and kids happy. It's both of those important. Finding students, you're looking to try to bring in new students and keeping current students. Parents, you're navigating their demands and trying to build trust with them and communication. Sometimes there's language barriers there. There's a lot of challenges with dealing with parents. I know, as I've talked to a lot of you about issues that you face with the parents that you're working with. Teaching effectively, so you've got the curriculum on the one hand, but then you've got to know how to engage students with them when you're online. The tech stack, you're dealing with a website and payment processing, and Koala Go is a wonderful platform, and one that I recommend to most everyone that I talk to, because it does solve a lot of issues with interacting with students online. And so that's definitely the platform I would recommend. I'm guessing many of you already use it, and so I'm maybe preaching to the choir here, but Koala Go definitely solves a lot of issues with that. And then, of course, getting paid is always a challenge. You want to make enough money to make your business enjoyable, and it's easy to, when you're an independent teacher, to maybe always be pushing prices down and then packing in more classes, and then you're making yourself miserable. What we would rather have are fewer classes, we're charging more, and we're getting better results in the time that we have. And so I know these are challenges that many of you have. I think that the curriculum and a curriculum like ours, paired with Koala Go, can actually solve a lot of these issues for you as an independent teacher. So what do we mean by effective? And let's kind of talk about this a little bit, because it does matter. What does an effective curriculum entail? And if we can have an effective curriculum, it actually can solve a lot of the issues that we just discussed. One of them is a curriculum that's going to cover all language domains. So I'm guessing most of you realize this, know this to be true, but students only really get good at what they practice. So if you have students who you are interacting with online and you are the one talking for the majority of the time, they are going to get good at listening. They are not going to get good at speaking. If you have students who are constantly filling in blanks by dragging and dropping words into blanks, they're going to get good at dragging and dropping words into blanks. They're not going to get good at writing. And if you have students who, if you have a single page and the goal of that page is super obvious, so it's like I'm dragging and dropping maybe one word out of a choice of 3 or 4 words into a blank, there is very little learning sometimes that can happen on those pages. And if we're doing that page after page after page, and I'm doing most of the talking, we can end up with students who aren't really learning a lot. Now, that can sometimes be engaging because it just can be some interactivity with it. It can be fun. It can be goofy images. But there's a lot more that needs to be done in order to make sure that we're covering speaking, listening, reading, writing, vocabulary, grammar, phonics. And I always throw interest in there just because I feel like interest always felt like a 10x on learning. So when I was teaching, whenever we taught in the classroom or online, if students were not interested, it was like, you know, pulling teeth. It was so hard to get them to learn and remember almost anything that we were doing. When they were interested, it just like stuff was just clicking. You know, their synapses are firing and they light up when they remember things and when they feel confident and they're doing well and they feel like they're improving, and when it's engaging and you know there's lots of interesting things to do, that interest can really improve the results that you get to your students enormously. So interest, I always throw it in there even though it's not really, you know, one of the categories that you would learn, but creating interest makes all the other ones work better. So why is this important? If you have students that you're working with and they are only improving moderately in listening, for instance, and they can't speak very well, or they can't read very well, their parents are going to notice. And when their parents notice, they're going to feel like, I'm not sure what I'm paying for because my students aren't actually improving in all of these areas. I know that they need to improve in them, but they're not. So we need to show that students are making progress in all of these key areas because all of them are important. And they need to make a progress in them all at the same time. You can't just, there's a lot of, you know, theories out there about, you know, if we just practice listening all the time, then they will eventually learn the language really well. And so they usually go with this model of like, if I were to put somebody into a all native speaking English environment, they would learn the language without, you know, just by being in that environment, just by hearing it all. And that's been proven to be pretty untrue. And I think most of us realize that's not going to work very well. Maybe if they're in an all English environment all day long, possibly, but otherwise, they really need to be using all of these other things. They need to be reading and they need to be writing. They need to be working with vocabulary a lot. So our curriculum is going to have to include all of these things, not just one or two of them. Long-term planning. So, you know, when you have parents, they're thinking long-term. They want to know, are you going to be able to work with my student for the next 6 years? And for you, that's a huge bonus because it means if you find a student, very often that's a long-term student that you can work with and bring in, you know, financial support for yourself for a long, long time. And the better job that you do with them over that long period of time, the more progress those students feel like they're making, the more likely over the long term they're going to recommend you to other people. So having good mid and long-term plans is super important. And so the curriculum is going to have a good plan long-term that's going to work students from 0 to fluency. And you're going to be able to show all the steps that are going to lead them there. Standards. So, you know, what kind of standards are we, you know, do we have at each level, at each step of the way? Are students reaching these standards or are they falling short of them? Do they need more practice in different areas? Those standards are what gonna help you communicate with parents about how much progress students are making. And then that progress tracking where you are actually tracking how they're doing in all these different areas and what areas they need improvement in. And then finally, meeting parents and students' needs. Parents' needs change over time. I don't know if any of you have noticed this, but I'm guessing that if you're working with students in Asia in particular, around grade 1, you're probably losing a lot of students. I would imagine that you have had students who are working with you in preschool, maybe, you know, kindergarten, and then all of a sudden, year 1, parents very different. They're not behaving like they used to. It used to be like they were just told me like, I just want my kid to have a good time. I just want them to have fun. And so, you know, whatever we did in class, they didn't really care that much as long as the kid was there and you were there, the parents were happy. And then all of a sudden they hit grade 1 and they're not happy anymore. And that's because in Asian schools overseas, as soon as you hit grade 1, all of the pressure begins. All of a sudden, they need to start keeping up with their classes. And parents are realizing that, oh, wow, my kid can't remember the vocabulary words they're supposed to be learning, or they don't know the grammar that they're supposed to know for those classes. And they're not testing very well. And testing is a huge amount of pressure for parents and children in Asian culture and around the world. They want to get their students into the best junior highs and high schools, all of that. This Pope has been chosen. Didn't know. That's good to know.
All right. What's
So
the name?
yeah,
What's the name of the new Pope, Amy? Let us know in the
yeah,
chat, please.
yeah. Let us know in there. So, all of these things are big challenges that curriculum can help us to resolve by helping our students to get these kinds of results. So the Kid-inspired online ESL curriculum pro, if you are interested in learning more about it, you can go to the URL that's here. You can go to kidinspired.com. I just noticed I spelled Kid Inspired wrong on this page. So there is an E in Kid Inspired. And you can see what's available inside of there, but it does cover all language domains. There are 16 levels and thousands of extra resources included that go from beginners 1 all the way up to upper intermediate 4 and covering grades K to 12. So it's a very in-depth and overall, covers a lot of topics, all the topics that your students would need for learning English. So it can take them from 0 to fluent. There are regular assessments and progress tracking and reports and things that you can provide your parents to make sure that they are on board, they understand what you're doing and why you're doing it and the progress their students are making, which all of these are going to mean you're going to be able to make more money. You're going to get your students better results. They're going to keep coming back because they're doing well in their classes, and they're going to tell their friends about you because they feel like you are getting them results. So we need to be very careful to do a good job with our students in these kinds of ways in order to get them those kinds of results. And the curriculum is built to help you with that. So I'm going to go through a few lesson examples. I've just kind of pulled some pages from these lessons, so it's not all of the pages from the lessons. For time reasons, I just felt like I'd just pull a few out and give you an idea. So this is a phonics lesson from Beginners 1, Unit 4. And this where you start with the alphabet, and there are lots of interactive features that are included in here. Questions. So kick of the curriculum to teach ESL online through QualiGo. You can, yes, it works very well with QualiGo. You can use it either with, there are PowerPoints that you can download and use with the whiteboard on QualiGo, or you can use the co-browser and log in, and then you'll be able to interact with these slides, just like this one, with your students. So you and students would be able to click on these.
R,
So
r. R
I don't,
says r.
is that sound coming through? I don't know if it is or not, but
Yes.
with the words, there's a lot of sounds and things that you can click on, a lot of interactive sort of items that you can move around. And there are a lot of different slides that require students to sort of gain some understanding of both the sound and some words that would go with it. And so, for instance, this one, you're listening
Red,
to a word like that and then trying to find which one it is and dragging it down. There are, little lock and key options. That's right. That was me, Lynn. Thank you. And then some of them are me because some of them are not, but some of them are me in there. There's a little lock and key that will give you an answer key that will show whether it's correct or not. And there are lots of interactive stuff like this. So this one, the alphabet, for instance, you want to see the alphabet as a whole. It's very easy to learn R if you only see R on the page. And I'm telling you it's R and it says R, and you repeat after me. But when you have to pick it out of the entire alphabet, or when I am saying a sound and you have to find that in the alphabet, that's where the real learning happens for students, because then they're actually forced to remember the sound and identify that mixed in. So we want to be constantly mixing things up for them and asking them to reproduce things on their own without help. And if you find, for instance, at this point your R, they should have learned all of these other letters. So you could say, okay, find the R for me, and they're going to find small r and big R, just like this. You can have them trace on here. So there's QualiGo has the writing tools. This is from Genially. It also has writing tools, but they can trace the letter sounds, and you can ask them to identify other sounds as well. So you find that a lot with the curriculum. You're learning something, and then you're mixing it in with other things that they've learned previously and requiring them to use it. So here they're working on writing, drawing. All of this is creating different associations with it. There are lots of games. This one, which doesn't seem to be loading at the moment. That's why it wasn't a game. It was the VR. This is a VR, so they can look around and find the color red in there. These are pretty fun. And then matching and games. This is a grammar lesson for beginners 4. And in this one, you starting with vocabulary. All of our resources are going to start with vocabulary, then they're going to work on putting those words into sentences, and then they're going to put those sentences into paragraphs with reading. So there's always this sort of step-by-step process with this. With a vocabulary lesson like this one, you're finding the words. So this is airplane. I'm going to find it over here on the side, and I can match them up like this. There's a key here again that will show you what those are. And a page like this is a little different than what maybe many of you are used to, because you could spend a lot of time on a page like this, and you can come back and redo it multiple times over the course of multiple lessons. So this will actually show up in future lessons in a review area of that lesson so that you can come back and redo it. And the idea is that they would be able to say all of these words from memory on their own without help. So they'd be able to say airplane, movie theater, hospital, school, and they'd be able to say it quickly and easily. So when we first start with this, we might say something like airplane and have them say it after us. And airplane, airplane, airplane. They say it 3 times. And then we go to number 2 and say that. And then I'd go back and say, okay, what was this one again? And then they say it. And they can use the words on the side as a reference, but then you would want to pull this over top of those words and then ask them to continue trying to remember them. And if they can't, it's fine. Let's say, let's take a look again. All right, airplane, good. Let's pull it back over again. It's that recalling things, especially when they've just about forgotten it, and recalling it again, that they actually build really solid memory with these words. And they say it takes 15 to 20 different interactions with a word before it really becomes part of your vocabulary. So we are aiming to get them lots of interaction with these different words. And so after they've gone through this page, you can give them a stamp to say good job. And then you can go to the next page. These are flashcards. And so some teachers start with these and then go back to the page I was just on. Some people start with the page I was on and go to these and then go back to the other page again. Either way, this is something I want you to remember what this is. This is an airplane. I want you to find it here. And so you can use the tools in Koala Go to find the word here. You can click on the lock to have it identified. And then there's usually a see it and describe it picture, which is a GIF of some kind. Usually they're funny, interesting. And it's just something to describe. What do you see? I see an airplane. What color is it? It's white, using words that they have learned. I can click it again to make it go away. So you got the flashcards. There's another virtual reality tour of the inside of an airplane. Here is spelling. So I am uncovering a word and I would say, let's choose this word house. At this point in Beginners 4, they've learned their phonics. So you would ask them to, what phonics do you see in there? I see OU, ow, house. All right, let's try spelling it. And you can either write it with the writing tool or you can grab letters and drag them up. Then this page is a speaking page. So a page like this, you're using the vocabulary that they've learned and now putting them into sentences. And the goal is not just to, I say something and then you repeat after me. The goal is to build some fluency with it. So it might start with, I'm going to make a sentence and you say the same one. But then I want to move it to them. You make a sentence. What do you see in this picture? Oh, there is a train. Oh, great job. And you can use the drawing tool to identify that if you want. And then with this, you can use a timer. So let's say, they're pretty slow. Like let's set a goal of, can you do 3 sentences in 1 minute? Let's do that as a goal. If you can do 3 sentences in 1 minute, we're going to play a game. If you can't, that's okay. We're going to try again until you get it. And so then let's see if you can do it. And I said a minute, didn't I? So I would change this to 60 seconds. All right, so ready and go. And then they're going to try to say 3 sentences in a minute. They do it, you're celebrating. That's awesome. Great job. Let's play a quick game. There are multiple ways to, you could go to the slides down here and jump to a game within there. There are a lot of games included, usually towards the end of the lesson. And then you could come back here and say, that was awesome. You did 3. Do you think you could do 5? And up that goal of building, of saying it more quickly, saying it more fluently. And you'll find by using these kinds of activities multiple times, students will get to the point where they're just popping off sentences easily. And your parents, when they hear their children saying things like, there is a train, there is a house, there is a car, there are two cars, there is a pizza place, there is a road, and their parents are going to be like, wow, that's awesome. They are really getting that down. That's the kind of proof that you are teaching them in a way that is actually getting them good results. And when their parents, when the students get into, elementary school and higher, they're going to do better in those classes as a result. I see that, Paula. How long are these lessons designed to be? I tend to, use them, and I can take a long time on them, up to 45, 50 minutes per lesson. But we do have teachers who do it in 25 minutes. It really is largely dependent on you and your students. Some students are just, you know how it is. Like some students, I say it one time and they just remember, and it's like nothing to them. It's so easy, and I come back to it and I don't seem to ever forget. And then there's some students like, all right, we've been at this 10 times now, and it's still really hard for you. And that's cool, no problem. We'll take our time until you really get it. Because the goal again is making sure that they really are building the fluency, not just moving on from lesson to lesson to lesson. And yes, there is clear sequencing. Each level has around 15 units, and each unit has about 2 or 3 lessons within it. And you just follow it in order, working your way up through. Every 4 units or so, there are assessments that you would give to your students, and then you could give a report to the parents on how they're doing listening, speaking, reading, and writing. They're very, you know, uh, evidence-based assessments. So they're really just focused on what can you do? How many sentences are you saying in a minute? How many vocabulary words can you actually remember and spell? How many words can you read in a minute? Those are the kind of assessments that we give because we want actual data on how things are going. And when you give actual data to your parents, you'll be surprised at how shocked they are. They're like, wow, you know how my student is doing better than I do. And that's when you really start building that kind of trust. And then you have parents who are coming to you and like, well, what do you think about this? Rather than, I know many of your parents will come to you and say, I want you to do this. You need to do it this way, because that's the way I've always had it done before. And so you have to do it this way. And I know that some of you struggle to, persuade parents that actually no, that's not necessarily the best way to do it. And when you can give data, that helps enormously with showing the parents that you know what you're talking about and that you're actually getting really solid results. So here's another game activity for that. This is a reading lesson from lower intermediate 3. And this one is covering things like 5 questions with WH and main idea and details, author's purpose. When you're using our curriculum, a lot of it is aligned to Common Core standards in the United States. If you're working with students in Asia, they love that. They want to know how their students are doing with grade level content in the United States. And if you're showing them that they're learning the same kinds of skills that students in the United States are learning, they are, again, going to trust you more. They're going to feel much better about what you're doing with them in class. That's all built into the curriculum in really fun and engaging ways. This is the stop motion movie reading. And then, of course, you can connect to this with, there's a bunch of project-based lessons in the curriculum where you could actually teach stop motion movies. Those haven't been changed to be horizontal, but there's a lot of resources in there that you can still use in addition to the curriculum as sort of an offshoot with your students. So the stories are, slides like this. They're very image based, a lot of fun to read. And after you're getting through them, you'll find things like this, graphic organizers, where you are answering questions based on the text. So where do this meeting is being recorded is covering that up, but you can see how you're dragging and dropping and answering based on what the questions are and what they've read. Usually there are a couple of different options for graphic organizers. Some teachers find that they only want to use one type of graphic organizer and they skip over some of the others. Totally fine. You do what you need to do. You can also come back to this lesson at a later date and follow up with other graphic organizers that are included there. And then writing. So this does actually let you type in here. This is an essay, or this is writing And so you could work through writing something together, and then the student can take that and do their own writing on their own time and turn it in for homework. This is the kind of stuff, again, parents really love to see that your students are doing speaking, listening, reading, writing, vocabulary, grammar, phonics. And if they're interested, and honestly, we think about interest being a lot of games, and games are fun, and we can use games as leverage to help our students be more motivated to work hard. So if I'm having them memorize a bunch of words, remember a bunch of words, it's helpful to throw games in there to reward them. But you'll see that when students are building fluency, when they're able to just, they're able to pop off for vocabulary words and they're able to say sentences quickly and easily, it becomes its own reward. They enjoy meeting that challenge. And you'll say, let's do 5. And they're like, yeah, I'm doing 5. And then all of a sudden, I don't even need a game anymore because the practice has become the reward in and of itself. And their parents, when the parents are like, wow, you're really learning this well, they're like, yeah. And they're ready to go for the next class because they feel that they're making that kind of progress. So what makes the Kid-inspired curriculum different? I've kind of talked about some of these things as I've gone through this, and there are a number of ways that it may be different than what you're used to. And so when you first start, it might take a little bit of time to adjust. But there is a huge focus on fluency throughout the curriculum. The whole goal is to get students using the language in all 4 language domains as much as possible. So there's going to be, with time, the more you do this, there'll be less of you talking and more of them talking. Less of you writing and more of them writing. Less of you doing all of these things and guiding them through it, and more of them doing it more. And the more that they do it, the more fluent they grow. And so all of these pages, you'll find a lot of them can be used in multiple ways and used multiple times, not just once. So there's a vocabulary page here, which I've used many times over and over and over again until students really know those words quickly and easily. There's reading, the phonics lesson here that you can see.
It would probably, because then I got to rush to it.
I think there he goes. The phonics lesson here, where they're reading a list of words. The goal is that they're able to read that list on their own without help individually. This is another speaking page up here. So they're doing lots of different activities in a variety of ways to practice their speaking, listening, reading, and writing, and vocabulary, grammar, and phonics. There are lots of games and interactivity built in. So it is meant to be very interactive. And that's where, Koala Go really can help those lessons shine, because you can use the co-browser and you can use the drawing tools and things included with Koala Go to interact with these lessons with your students real time. And that's just awesome. It's one of the reasons why, again, Koala Go is my favorite platform for teaching online, and why it works so well with this. All the games, all of the things that can move around, you get to control those things, and your students can interact with it as well. So that is something that is super helpful as you're going through the curriculum. And you can build good routines. So it may take a little bit of time to get up and running with the curriculum at first, because it might be different than VIP Kids curriculum or some of the other ones that you may have used previously, but the similar structure throughout the curriculum. So I think it was Lynn maybe who had asked earlier about the sequencing. No, it was Paula. There's a good sequencing. The lessons are organized in order. You can follow them in order, and the structure of each lesson is similar. So once you have gotten that structure down and you know what you're doing with it, that will carry over from lesson to lesson to lesson throughout the curriculum. And you'll find that you'll spend a lot less time lesson planning, a lot less time worrying about it, and a lot more time in the lesson practicing the content rather than explaining things all the time and having students be confused and losing interest. There's a very solid structure, and you can build really good routines with your students. Built-in review. So our lessons are designed that as you move through lessons, you'll see that there's a review area, and you can click through that and you can review lesson slides from previous lessons. So you'll go back and review that vocab page again, and then we'll move on. Or we'll go back and review that grammar page, and then we'll move on. So there's built-in review, and you're constantly going back and reviewing content that you've learned before. It's called a spiral curriculum. So they're always circling back around and practicing something again, because teaching something one time is not enough. I can teach short vowel A, CVC words, and maybe this lesson they've kind of got it, but in a week they're going to have forgotten it. And so they need multiple times, multiple opportunities to practice with that. And then later, after some time has gone by, you come back around and pick it up again. That's how we build fluency. There are a lot of support tools built into the curriculum, lots of reports that you can use, templates you can use. There are handouts you can give to your parents that will help them, know what you're doing, know the plan, the mid-term plan, the long-term plan, how their students are doing in all the different areas. All of that communication is going to make for better classes, going to make for parents who trust you more, and they're going to want to continue with you long term, and they're also going to tell other people about you. All of those tools are still in there, and it is updated regularly. So we are constantly adding new interactive content, new lessons, new resources inside of the membership based on what teachers tell us they need. So any feedback that you might have, if you are using the curriculum already, we love to hear it, and are constantly working to improve on everything that we get. We've been doing that since the curriculum was first developed. We've always been taking it back to the teachers and letting them use it. And then what's working? Tell us, how can we make this better? How can we make this easier to teach? How can we make this more engaging for your kids? And that's how it's gotten to where it is today. Yeah, so if you are interested in learning more about the curriculum, you have, thought about trying it out and don't know for sure if it's for you, we do have a special offer for you. And Xavier, I think either going to drop in the chat or I can drop in the chat. Xavier, do you have that?
Let me see. I can find it in the email that you sent me. 1 second.
I've got it. I'm faster than you.
You got it? Yeah, good. Okay.
Let me.
And there's a
let me
question,
copy.
while you look for this, there's a question from Paula. How do you submit the forms to the parents, and could they be sent over WeChat?
All right, good. Yeah, so forms they're just templates, and they're using Word documents. So you can download that, fill it out, and send it to a parent from WeChat or in any email, whatever you want. It really is kind of up to you. You can also use them in Google Docs. Google Doc, you can fill it out online in a Google Doc, and then you can choose to share that link with a parent. Although access, if you're working with students in China, access to things can sometimes be a challenge. So yeah, obviously it's going to differ depending on who you're working with. How do you place the student into the curriculum? Good. I saw there was a progress monitoring. Is that also a scope? There is a scope, and let me go back one slide here real fast. Not that one. There it is. So this one here is a scope and sequence. Are you seeing my mouse? I assume you are. There is a scope and okay, good. I'm just moving my mouse all over the place. I'm like, I need to log into Koala Go, and then I can, it'll be more clear. The scope and sequence here is an overall view of the entire curriculum. So this is long term. If you're showing parents where we're going long term, this is a good roadmap to that. Then there are these handouts for each level, and there are parent versions of this. There's even Chinese versions of this in the curriculum. So you can hand this out to your parent, and they can see what's covered in this specific level and where that is in the entire curriculum. And then how do you place a student? Which level do I start them on? You would use this ELL placement assessment for that. And there's an online landscape version of that included with the membership that you can use with your students. Actually, I think I have a free version for that on the website too. If you go to kidinspired.com, and at the top it says online teachers, and then I think there are resources there. You can click through there. You can actually get the assessment, online assessment for free. And that goes through everything. And it gives you a really clear picture of how a student's doing in all those areas: speaking, listening, reading, writing, phonics, grammar, and vocabulary. And so when you have a clear picture of that, obviously it's very helpful for you to tell parents, here's how they're doing in all these areas. And parents are gonna be like, wow, you really understand where my student is and what they need to do. And so it's a great way to bring in new students. If you're testing new students that are interested in taking classes with you, it's a great tool for that. It also has a guide in there that will show you exactly which level you can use with the curriculum based on their results. So you go through it, you get the results, and then you can just use the guide and say, okay, this beginners 3, beginners 4, right in there is going to be the best level for them. And then you can start them on that level. I tend to recommend you start low, you start a little bit under their ability so that they're starting from what they know already. And that's why the curriculum's built. So
To
we
build
always
up
want to be
confidence.
starting. Yes, that's right. Exactly. You want to start with what they know so they feel good, they feel confident, they get past those jitters, and then you can start building on that. And if they're doing super well, it's like, wow, you're just smashing this. You're doing so well. I'm going to bump you up. They're pumped because they feel like they're, succeeding, and parents are really happy. Whereas if you start them too hard, it can obviously be more difficult for them. It can be frustrating for them. And if you have to drop them down a level, that doesn't look good at all. So I always recommend start them a little bit lower than where you think they might be. And if you're not sure, you can always lay it out for the parents. You just say, look, here's the results I'm getting. Here's kind of what I'm thinking about level wise. This level would be a little easier for them, would build off of what they already know. This level might be a bit more of a challenge. What would you like for me to do with them? Do you think that they're up for more of a challenge? Do they enjoy being challenged? Or do you feel like they're, a little more nervous and tentative? And so we maybe should start with the easier level. Parents will oftentimes really appreciate that. And they'll oftentimes say, I'm not sure. What do you think? And you're like, let's start with the lower level and we can bump them up if we need it. So that's where you can use this ELL placement assessment for that kind of work. Yeah. Any other questions?
So John, I see that you shared the link again. Tell us again what the link provides, what kind of discounts the Koala community has access to with this link.
I'd be happy to. The link is going to take you to a checkout page where you can get 75% off the first month of the membership. So it ends up being, I don't know, $3 or something like that to sign up and use it for a month. The curriculum that if you're teaching online, you'd want the pro option. And I say that because if you want to learn more about the curriculum, you can go to kidinspired.com. You can hit sign up now, and it'll take you to a page that kind of walks through the curriculum. But you'll want to be choosing the pro option. The pro option is what includes all of the PPTs and all the interactive slides. The standard option just includes the normal PDFs that classroom teachers would be using. So let me just drop the online ESL curriculum. That's the link to the actual page for the pro membership that you can learn a little bit more about what's included there. There's some samples there and some other information there that you might find helpful. But if you want to go sign up and get the discount, you just have to use that link that I shared in the chat. So to save that link, go check out everything you might want to check out, and then just follow that link if you want to sign up. Membership pricing is for the curriculum, whereas QualiGo is separate pricing per month year. Yes, that's true. Now, QualiGo does offer 2 options. I'll just jump in and Xavier can stop me. QualiGo has 2 options. There's a free option that they are very generous with. You can use the whiteboard features and everything, all the tools, interactive tools with your students. You can use the PPTs from the ESL curriculum, Kid Inspired curriculum, with the whiteboard. All of that works great. If you want to use the co-browser and playground with the gyms and rewarding your students for things, which is all really cool, then you'd want to sign up for QualiGo's monthly or yearly plans, which are honestly very well priced. I know that for online teachers, again, many of you are trying to keep costs low as possible. But just remember, again, everything that you're doing online is presenting how professional you are with your students and your parents. When you have a professional curriculum and you have a professional platform that's very engaging, interactive, you might be spending a little bit more each month, but you should reap loads of dividends from that in parents who stay with you longer term and in recommendations. And you can also offer your services at a higher price. So the goal ultimately that you'd be charging enough per lesson that you cover all of your expenses and you're still able to bring in enough to not make yourself miserable. You don't want to be packing in classes back to back. You want to charge enough that the classes that you do have, you have enough time to prepare well for them, and you can do a really good job with them. That everybody's happy that way. And I know parents are probably saying to you, well, I can get it cheaper from so-and-so. And then that's where you need to put on your marketing sales cap and say, here are the reasons why I'm a better choice in this situation. And I know that as teachers, we don't always want to be marketers, and that can be challenging for us because I just want to teach. But if you are an independent online ESL teacher, you are a business owner, and you're learning how to be good at marketing. Does not have to be pushy or scammy or anything like that. At the end of the day, one of my biggest, when I ran the school in Taipei and we had parents coming in and we were turning people away, the biggest reason that we did so well was our assessment. When parents came, they would show up, I would give an amazing assessment with them. I would lay it all out. Here's how they're doing in all these different areas. Here's specific data on what they need to work on. Here's the level that they would work best with. And here's what we would do in that level. Here's the results I would get them. And usually parents would be like, wow, nobody's ever told me something so clearly before. And for them, the decision's already been made at that point. Everything else is just details, like how much you charge. Even if they're like, well, that's a little too expensive, like, that's okay. Think about it. And then, come back to me if you'd like to. Most of the time they'll show up the same day or the next day, maybe even before the end of the time. But it was like, all right, fine, let's do it. Because of the fact that they trust you more than they trust others based off the professional impression that you've given them. Do you have recommendations for marketing to China? I have lots of them. I could go on for a very long time about that. I've been there. I lived in Taiwan for 18 years, and we ran a school there, and we had to do marketing. And a big part of it is recognizing that parents, like I said earlier in the session, parents need change over time. So if you're working with students in China, very often, if you get them at preschool, those parents don't care what you do with their kids so much. They just are happy that the kids are happy. They just like, life is good, it's fun, you get whatever you want. Kids are pretty happy when they are preschool in China and in Asia in general. And then they hit grade 1 and everything changes for them. In preschool, the teachers were like, yay, let's play games. And if you don't remember anything, it's no problem. And then they hit grade 1 and their teachers are like, you have to remember this. We're testing this tomorrow. And all of a sudden, the kids are really thrown by that. And that's when, when kids are over, they stop being so interested in learning because they all of a sudden feel all this pressure that they didn't used to feel. So you might have felt like they were happy to come to class before. They get to grade 1, and all of a sudden they don't want to do anything anymore. It's partly for that reason. Parents too. Parents go from being like, oh wow, life's great, no problem, and then they hit grade 1, and all of a sudden they're suddenly worried that their kids aren't going to be able to keep up. And that's where you have to have your ducks lined up in a row. I don't know if I can use that phrase. You need to really be organized and professional with your parents at that point. In fact, the best thing you can do is in Daban, which is kindergarten level in China. You want to be able to say to them, look, we're having a good time right now, but I really need your student to start making some good progress in these areas, because when they hit grade 1, it's going to be hard. And there's going to be a lot of expectations on them about what they need to be able to do. Every school is different. Counties in China are different. So, for some kids, it might not be till grade 2 or even 3. But the more that you communicate to parents that I'm going to get your student results, and then this is going to make schooling for them easier. They're going to do better in school. They're going to do better on tests. And they're going to get into better schools because of this. We need to do this hard work. Yes, we'll make it fun, but we want to make sure that they're doing well in all these areas. That's going to speak enormously to your parents as far as building trust. If they think that you only care about having a good time, and if they think you're just showing up for class and you don't really, not too worried about their kids' future, then they're probably going to go find somebody else. I could go on for a long time. That's maybe a brief overview of what I would imagine maybe some of you guys are facing when you're working with kids from China. I can keep talking about that if you'd like me to. Just let me know in the chat, or if you have another question.
It almost feels like maybe we should dedicate one session one day to marketing to students in China or outside.
Yep.
Um, and would love to invite you for that as well to brainstorm on the best strategies. Yep, Paul has
I'd
some
be happy to do that. It'd
specific-
be fun. I enjoy chatting about it. I know it's hard,
Yeah,
and it is going to be hard. And there's the language barrier that's there is
yeah.
hard. And so I had the advantage of being able to speak Chinese. And
You
so
speak
when I talk
Chinese?
to parents,
You speak
yeah,
Mandarin? Oh wow.
that's right. I speak Mandarin. And so when I talk to parents, I was able to speak with them in Mandarin. And that also helped really build a lot of trust with them.
I bet.
And trust is the most important thing that you're going to have with your parents. If they feel like they trust you with their kid's future, they're going to stick with you. If they feel like we're just playing games and having a good time and just going through slides, they're not going to stick with you. They're going to leave. And so then you're going to have turnover. And it's really hard to be constantly looking for new students and bringing new students in. It's hard for you. It's stressful. It means you're not getting them as good of results. The more turnover, the more churn that you have with your students, the less of a reputation you're going to have for getting students results. So building trust, keeping students, getting them results, that's all a big part of you being successful as an ESL teacher online. I have
Yeah.
no clue how to get students outside of the USA in person. Impressive. Minute. Well, I lived there for 18 years and we ran the school together. So it was really, my wife is from Taiwan and she speaks Mandarin and she yells at me in Mandarin. So I have to, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we speak a lot of
Want to be
Mandarin
able to
around the
defend yourself, you have to.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we speak a lot of Mandarin around the house. We have a son. He grew up in Taiwan, so it's a multilingual home.
You
And
speak English with your son and your wife speaks Chinese?
that's how we started at the beginning, and then it became a mishmash. So now it's sort of like a free for all. Any language goes. And so, yeah, it's fun. But learning Mandarin actually does it is helpful, and if you are primarily working with students in China, it might be worth learning some Chinese in order to be able to understand a little bit of what they're saying, because a lot of times we just don't understand the culture well enough, and we don't understand what parents are telling us. And I've seen this happen in person because I've had a teacher ask me to get online. No, I don't offer this service, so I don't know if anybody will be coming after me after this. But I had a teacher ask me, "Can I get online with her and one of the parents that she works with?" And I got to chat with that parent and I got to chat with that teacher. And it was just this, they were just totally missing each other. The teacher was trying to communicate one thing and the parent was trying to communicate another. And they thought they were talking about the same thing and they just weren't. And so when that happens, the parent is not getting their question answered. And so one of the things, even if you don't speak Mandarin, where to take Mandarin, that's a hard one. In just a second. So if you are having this problem where no, don't be sorry, Lynn. I'm happy to talk about it in just a second. If you have this problem where the parent is talking about something and you're talking about something else, the parent's not getting their question answered, they're going to walk away because they don't feel understood. You have to make sure that you understand. And it can be frustrating because the parent's using English and they don't necessarily speak very well. And that can be frustrating for you. And you think I know what they're saying and you don't. You have to listen and ask lots of questions. So even when I spoke in Mandarin, I would spend a lot of time listening. I would ask a lot of questions because I wanted to make sure I understood really well, what does this parent want? What does this parent worry about? Where is this parent hoping the student will be in a year? Those are the kinds of things that you want to understand, because if you do and you tell that parent, that parent's worried like, oh, I'm not sure if in a year my student is going to be doing well in grade level content and whether or not they'll be passing the test they need to pass. And you can speak directly to that concern. They're going to latch on to you and trust you that you're going to be the person to help them solve that problem. So that's all a big part of marketing. Learning Mandarin is really hard because it's just so different than English. But I will say that it's a lot easier to learn to speak Mandarin than it is to write. So if you just don't write, don't learn how to write, don't worry about writing, don't worry about characters, because that's just incredibly difficult. If you just focus on speaking, you can actually pick up on speaking a lot more quickly, and you can learn to understand Chinese to a point where at least if a parent was talking to you, you could understand enough that you could respond in English. You'll find a lot of parents, they understand a lot more English than they can speak. So what you're saying to them, many times they can understand, enough of it to get what you're saying, but then they can't really communicate what they want to say well. And so they'll want to speak with you in Chinese, even if you're responding in English. So even if you can't speak it, but you can understand enough, that can be a huge boon to your, communication abilities with parents in China. Yeah. Any other questions, thoughts? Where would you learn Mandarin? I learned it by practicing a ton. I brought a lot of what I learned about learning a language to our curriculum. So the things that I just described about learning English, they apply to Mandarin as well. And if you want to get good at learning a language, you have to use it. And so get a tutor, get somebody to help you, meet with you regularly. I also learned Spanish. I have a Preply teacher that I use for Spanish, and I meet with her twice a week right now for a half an hour. Most of them will want to do an hour with you. Don't do an hour right at the beginning until you get more, farther along. If you're just getting started, you don't have a lot of time, just do half-hour little sessions and do more of them, because the more you do over a period of time, the better you're going to get, rather than like 1 hour a week and then you don't use it at all the rest of the week. Duolingo is great for just reviewing. It's not really great for learning. Any other questions, concerns, thoughts, worries? Say hi. Did I cover everything, Xavier?
I think that was great. That was great. Thank you also for the offer, the big discount for Koala members. Yeah, give it a shot, everyone. I know you are always looking for new content, and use that link, and then you can try it in the Koala Go co-browser. It's designed to work together seamlessly.
Yeah.
You will.
I've actually got it. I had it. I told Xavier I
Yeah.
was wanting to use the Koala Go browser, but then it was kind of like, Zoom on top of Koala
Yeah.
Go on top of my. I just felt like, it's better probably just to be careful. But I do have it already up and logged in here on the Koala Go web browser. And so this is the home page, and you can scroll down. You can go to, any of these levels inside the Koala Go browser. You can scroll down to the first lessons or whatever you're working on, and you click on those, and then our interactive slides are at the bottom of these pages. You scroll down the slides here, and you click on these dots, go full screen, and then you're fully operational with Koala Go. And both you and your student can interact with the content. You can use the drawing tools. Although the one thing that I've learned from Xavier, if you're using the drawing tools, you need to close the drawing tools before you can interact with the slide again. And then you can interact with the slide when you don't have the drawing tools up. And then when you want to do the drawing tools, you put them back. And then the drawings, everything you draw stays there as you go back and forth between slides, which is amazing. So yeah, all of that's really cool. Yeah, anything else that you want to add, Xavier?
No, I see a question. I'm curious how this would work with dyslexic students. Yeah, so Amy, so that's a little bit of a complicated question. Maybe I'll let John reply, but
Well, Xavier has a lot of expertise with this, and the Koala Go platform was originally designed for students with dyslexia. And so this is, again, a really great platform for that. Dyslexic students are just like most other students in that they just need more practice. They need to be using it. They need to start with, looking at the letters and following those letters in order. They just tend to need more practice than other students. And they need a lot of patience with that. And so starting with the phonics and working through the science of reading with that, because dyslexic students, if they memorize a word, it's going to get all flipped around in their head. And so they really need to learn to look at letters in order and analyze them in order. And the more they know and understand phonics, the better they're going to be able to do that. And so all of the beginners 1 to 4 curriculum lessons have phonics included with that. What would you add, Xavier?
no, I would say, yeah, be careful with dyslexic students indeed. I would say, do your research. You need to be indeed following a science-based curriculum, with indeed phonics involved in that curriculum, but you don't teach reading the same way that you teach reading to that historically reading has been taught to every kid, although the way you teach reading for dyslexic kids applies to everyone and is the right way to teach. But yeah, be very thoughtful. I think Amy, and I'm assuming if you teach dyslexic students, I'm assuming you have some training to teach dyslexic students, but this is a kind of, we build a platform that's aligned with their learning style, but it is a little bit beyond my level of expertise to tell you exactly how to teach reading. So I would refer you to structural literacy, intervention guidelines, Orton Gillingham's. Yeah, Amy, so we started with kids with dyslexia in 2019, and we worked with neurologists that guided us on how to build something that's a platform that's multi-sensory as an online platform can be. But Koala does not provide the program. It's a set of tools. So anyway, we'll talk more about this. I know we're already beyond the hour. Thank you so much, John, for showing us all this. This is your work is fantastic, and I know it's saving hundreds of hours for so many teachers. So thank you so much for coming today.
Anytime, Xavier. Always appreciate hanging out with you. And I'll
Yeah.
look forward to whatever we end up doing in the future. But thank you again to you and everybody else. If you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with me. Go to kidinspired.com. There's a little bubble in the bottom. You can connect with me. You can also email me at support@kidinspired.com. Yep. And yep, Xavier, if there's anything else.